All right, good evening. It's a beautiful night out there, finally. So I'll call the meeting to order a little earlier than usual, 6:40. And the first item on the agenda are additions, deletions, or changes.
I wondered, I don't think we need to change the, talk about the floodplain at the garage when Mike's here. I mean, Mike knows about it.
Okay.
But that was my only thought,
Yeah,
but.
so he's aware of it.
Because, yeah, he's
Yeah.
aware of it. He's
All right.
fully,
The only one I wanted to suggest is that if people thought, how they thought about moving, the second executive session to when Erik is here, so
And-
for some
okay.
timeliness on that.
And then we'll come back and, well, then we have the town administrator report. How long do we think that'll be? That second one?
I'm not exactly sure. I don't think it's gonna be all that long.
So we could do that. We could consider doing that and then come back and finish the town administrator report, select board forum. So
Yeah,
that,
well, we
so
could
that
even
Erik
do-
doesn't have to stay.
Exactly.
yeah, and we could also put the highway garage thing after Eric, after the executive session and do
Oh,
the
your
select
thing?
board. Yeah. You want to do that?
Your piece of the highway garage? Which-
Yes.
Actually, it's been moved to, we put it as an item. So-
Yes, I know. So that's what I'm saying. I'm suggesting that you move
Oh.
that. So do everything with Eric before, and then when we come back after executive session, we would do the town administrator, select board forum, and the
And
ERP.
item 10,
I'm gonna
approving
only,
the floodplain.
the only thing is, Eric's gotta be here for that to work, right?
Oh, okay. And he's
So
not
if-
coming until 8:35 or
Well, he's coming,
for 8:20?
yeah, so.
Okay.
I mean, are we able to leave that in
Yeah,
limbo?
we can leave that.
yeah.
Right.
If we
I
can leave
think
that in
that's
limbo,
all right.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure that would be appreciated. but
Yeah.
Whether that's gonna
Yeah.
all
Okay.
orchestrate.
So Aaron did call and said he was tied up in traffic. He expects to show up, but we're going to get started anyways. We got a very busy agenda, so I'll try to keep us moving. It's a lot of odds and ends things. A number of them are just odds and ends we need to go through. But the next item is to move into executive session. Expect it should take only about 20 minutes. The purpose is to review potential contract offer with CVU. So
CVSD
CSSD,
or CVSD.
Chittenden Valley South
School District.
School District. Okay, hi, Aaron.
Right?
We're just getting
Chittenden Valley
started.
School District.
So we would need 2 motions to go.
Oh.
Champlain Valley, yeah. It's not
Champlain Valley-
CCSD.
No, it used to be Chittenden South.
Oh.
Now it's Champlain Valley School District.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
2 of us.
So we'll need
We can get
two,
it together, right?
we'll need 2 motions to go into executive session, and when we do, we'll turn the TV, the broadcast off, and then we'll come back to the broadcast when we return. So the first motion would just to note that premature public discussion of the subject would cause the municipality a substantial disadvantage.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that passed. And the second motion would be to go to executive session to discuss this contract offer with CVSD. Under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes.
I'll make that to include Frank Koss, Caleb Casco, and Joy Dubin-Grossman.
Okay, is there a second? Mary Lee, thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye? All right, so we'll go to executive
Do we have
session.
paper copies or?
I have something, yes, I have something that I can hand out. All right, so we've come out of executive session.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive
yeah.
session.
Second by Tom, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so we're out. So the next item on the agenda is a discussion about the SRO, Student Resource Officer. Last time we met, we had a discussion about this. Chief Cost presented some rough numbers of cost. CVSD. We're here discussing, what an SRO officer would do and what they were looking for, and the fact that they wanted to move quickly if they could. I think I heard the board say they were just concerned about costs to Hinesburg. So since then, Chief Cost, Caleb, have worked on looking at what the actual cost of a fully burdened police officer is. Let's see, I have that sheet here. So there is a rough proposal of what an officer from Hinesburg would cost and some of the benefits associated with it. So roughly the cost with insurance ends up being $58 roughly an hour. And the cost of a new vehicle, which Caleb had worked out last time but was a little more clearly defined this time around, is $9.50 an hour. And that's those are the full burden rates of what the officer would cost. Includes the building, overhead, supervision, and those type of costs besides just the salary and insurance and those benefits. And I think I worked with Chief Cost and Caleb to talk about, so what are the benefits for Hinesburg? So that's farther down on the sheet. So what good is it? Why would we do this? And we came down with a list. One, CVSD. Oh, that's correct there. So, across the district, we will improve school safety. So all of our kids, either, and all of the citizens in Hinesburg belong to that district, and everybody in the district would benefit from a school resource officer. This officer coming from Hinesburg would fit into our community policy, our community policing model. And we also thought, having somebody in there full-time focusing on safety would probably could have a positive impact on traffic safety, which is a concern for Hinesburg because we do tend to have a lot of bad accidents with teen drivers. So we thought that would be a positive thing. Another item just to note is that Hinesburg Police already supports CVU, which is the majority of the focus of the SRO officer. So this is work we're already providing at no cost, and now they would get far better service, more time, and the school district would be paying for it. This officer would be available for any major incidents that would happen in Hinesburg, so it is an additional resource that could be called upon in an emergency. This officer would be available about 25% of the time, so primarily school vacations and summer time, which would allow our existing officers to take vacations during vacation times, and now it's been a challenge with only 5 full-time officers to be more flexible with when officers take vacation. The added vehicle gives us additional resource and flexibility. And so those were just some of the benefits. And then some of the contract considerations that we discussed would be ideally a 3-year commitment from the school. Obviously, there'd be clauses that would allow people to drop out if it's not working, but we'd want some type of commitment. There would be additional costs for overtime, so we've established what that would be. And then we'd assume the rate of the officer would go up if Hinesburg so deems to give raises, and the cost of insurance goes up. So we could share those costs with CVU or CVSD, and the hourly rate each year may be adjusted slightly as the budget goes up, if it goes up. So that's a lot to say. Any thoughts, Frank or Caleb?
No, I think you covered it.
I think question could be asked of, I assume the entire department and the both of you are positive for this move for a number of reasons?
Well, definitely, because that's part of it is, we no longer would have to respond up there for just what Caleb was talking about, like parking lot crashes, things like that. So it would reduce the workload of our day shift officers, of which I'm one of them, slightly.
Okay. Any other thoughts or discussion?
So your breakdown here pretty much answers the question of, that we all had last week or last meeting about the 25% that Hinesburg was supposed to cover.
So, yeah, I mean, so, we don't need to hide the fact that by charging them a full burdened rate, then the impact to Hinesburg's budget will be fairly small.
It would really, I think our goal would be that it really should not impact
Yeah.
Hinesburg's budget
Right.
because voters haven't approved it. They don't know about it. And I think we all feel pretty strongly about, and Frank has told us, and we really feel comfortable with the number of 6 full-time equivalents that we have, that there's no need for Hinesburg to do this. There's lots of good reason for us to do this. I think my concern is, though, that voters don't know about this, and whether there would be a way of moving forward with this, assuming that the school board finds it acceptable, until we have a vote that we move forward on a temporary contract, and then next July be able to do a 3-year contract. I don't know how fast an officer would be able to be hired, because it will be a Hinesburg Police Department hire, but in consultation with the school administration as well. So it would mean that we would really need to bring it to the voters in March.
The one thing that I would say is there's 32 openings in Chittenden County right now for police officers. It's not going to be on the top of the list to hire somebody that says you may not have a job in July. That's going to be like
I
seriously
understand that.
difficult to find somebody. And especially because to get a fully certified officer means they are quitting another department to come to us. So, depending on, we're still going to have a select board meeting, people that are concerned and all of that. This is a good opportunity that maybe they need to come and express their opinion there. Because like I said, just hiring a person till July, I don't know how we would possibly get an officer.
Yeah, so like Frank said, we'll have a meeting where people can give input, and maybe we can also put it on Front Porch Forum and
Yeah.
encourage people to email or stop by the town administrator's office and give their,
Tell Joy.
Well, or call us
Yeah.
directly.
Yeah,
I
right,
do
of
feel
course.
like there is
Yeah,
a
this is
certain
a big
sense
issue.
of
Yeah.
people do have, and whether it's justified or not, it's very difficult for people to speak against the police department. I don't think it's against any people, but to basically voice their concern about, primarily it's increase in budget, but people do feel intimidated that it's a little, so I think if they feel like they can call us as board members, certainly they are very welcome to come to the town administrator or to talk directly to the police, but if people are more concerned. We're elected to,
The point you're making is that there's numerous ways to do this.
Yes.
And think outside the box. If you
Yeah.
need a comfortable way to communicate to us,
yeah.
please do.
You
Because
know,
like Phil said, this is an important issue.
I feel much more confident moving ahead because of the limited liability that it's putting on taxpayers. You know, basically, it's not putting any liability on taxpayers.
Well, at least
And
not
s-
direct.
Not direct, not direct. And,
Well,
but we
certainly-
will show it in the budget, next year's budget, for sure.
Yeah, it'll,
And-
it'll
and
show
we'll-
up.
It will show up and we will make.
And on the income side, so will the
Yes,
income
yes.
from being paid back
Yes, yes.
for the
So
officer.
we should just definitely think about it when we're getting ready to prepare the budget, that we are fully transparent about what we've done.
Yeah.
And that, you know, this is what we've done, and if we, you know, we're making a 3-year commitment, if they're making a 3-year commitment, and we hear that it's, you know, like people are really mad.
Right, no, yeah. And I think, to be fair, I mean, we've had a little time, I certainly have had time to digest this, so when I
Yeah.
first heard it, several months ago, I'm like, oh boy, I'm not, you know, but the more I've got to look at it, and the more I've got to weigh the plus and the minus, and looking at, feeling like, you know, Hinesburg is being reimbursed for the actual costs, then, and understanding the benefit of the fact that we already provide that benefit. And I think what Tom was getting at is, even if Hinesburg's budget doesn't necessarily show any significant change, the CSWD budget is going to show it, and we'll pay Hinesburg CBSD, yeah, CBSD, sorry. Will show it, and Hinesburg will pay that share. But, you know, and that can be brought here as a complaint, but really that should go to the
school
school,
board. Right.
because they can hire somebody whether it's a Hinesburg officer or not.
So I just want to be clear, because I'm really concerned that the voters be encouraged to give input. So can we put something in Front Porch Forum, and will it be our next meeting that residents will be invited to attend?
Well, I mean, I think ideally it would be the next meeting, because CVSG, I didn't even think, am I saying it right?
School district.
Yeah, school district, is looking to vote on it on the 18th of September, or they're gonna have a discussion and potentially vote on moving forward.
At their board
So,
meeting.
yes, and so putting our proposal out there, for that meeting would be a good thing to do.
Okay.
So the idea would be, next meeting, we would have, all of our meetings are open, but invite public comment, give some feedback, have an opportunity for questions, and for anybody to, you know, whether they're for it, against it, or, you know, have questions.
Something would go in Front Porch Forum, and maybe even the Citizen?
Yeah, we could try getting something in the Citizen. I think that's a good idea.
In fact, I think the Citizen has written articles about this
Yeah,
already.
They have.
yeah, they have already, so. And
They
our.
might want to do a
yeah.
follow-up.
Sure.
Right. So, does that, you know, I'm looking at the board, do we move forward with, showing this proposal, and then, having a follow-up, discussion for the next meeting, and potentially voting to say, yes, let's move forward with this proposal?
Yes.
So I guess the next step, though, is presenting this to CVU.
Yeah, they could come back and say, yeah,
Got a
no.
better offer
Right.
somewhere
Right,
else.
I don't
or-
But that'll
Yeah.
happen with you and
Yeah,
Adam, or,
I think,
I'm the chief operations officer.
Okay.
CVSD.
yes.
Great.
So he wrote down, I wrote
The
everything down.
CVSD, yeah,
Clear Valley
right.
School District.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Do you want to just introduce yourself, your
T.
name?
Jensen.
Yeah, okay,
And I live in Hinesburg. I'm a Hinesburg resident.
okay.
So I appreciate you defending my taxes. Yeah, so I'll take this back to the school board, and, you know, we have at least one other town that's interested in a proposal, so I would have two to take to the board on the 18th if Hinesburg wants to stay in.
Yeah,
The other towns are very respectful of Hinesburg. already supporting, already having a relationship with CVU and being closest and everything
Yeah.
else, and so that's a big part of our thinking too. So, but yes, this is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say if CVU wasn't in Hinesburg, I doubt that we would be, moving forward, but it does seem to be a good fit and makes sense for really everybody, the district and for Hinesburg, for a number of reasons, so.
So does that answer your question, or are you looking for something specific on who negotiates that contract?
Well, we'll end up,
Right, but presenting it.
Well,
and
I
then-
think we've already,
Does that
Yeah,
answer your
I-
question?
Yeah, I should be clear that on the 18th, we'd like the board to direct administration to negotiate a contract with one of a specific town. So we're not
Yes.
saying like, here's the contract, sign
Yeah,
it. We won't
okay.
expect it to
Fair
be-
enough.
But we
Yeah.
would like to be onto a specific town to move forward with for negotiations. So that's what the board wants to decide on the 18th.
Perfect.
So right now, I think this is very fair. The 3-year would be an expectation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for both sides to
Right,
really
right.
feel comfortable, yeah.
Right, and I think otherwise this is very fair and sort of in the ballpark of what we're hearing from all the towns, so
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with this. I would say this is a really good basis to go forward and have your public comment.
Okay, so I think next meeting, Frank, yes?
Has the board decided on a start date, or is that just flexible?
ASAP. The first day of school.
Okay.
2019.
No.
so I have one more question regarding the vehicle, and I think it was brought up last time. Would we be looking at adding on to the garage, or would we just have outside storage? Because that's something that people are gonna ask.
We would not add it onto the garage, but you gotta remember, we're down a car every night because somebody's on call. So even if we have vehicles everywhere, there's always at least one guy on call, and if there's somebody else out working a detail, or there's one in the shop, I'm not,
Yeah, I am definitely not in favor.
Oh, no.
no.
No?
Storage
That's why I asked the question.
is not a big concern of ours, I don't think, just because there's usually an open spot in there, because there's usually not a car there.
Okay.
Is it safe to assume there's a spot for the person in the officer themselves in the office?
The way
or-
it's set up is, the way the desks and everything are, yes, there would be a floor work.
I don't need to know the details, just, I assume you thought about that. Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious, how much time would the officer actually spend at the police station, because aren't they gonna be at school?
Hopefully not very much.
Right, that was,
The only thing though
No,
is,
25% of the time,
like
though.
our law enforcement database is only accessible, well, actually,
Yeah,
through
you can be remote.
on, Tupper.
I mean, I would assume they'd have an office at school.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I think, since Hinesburg would be managing that person, they'd have to have time to, on a regular basis, whatever that is, to sort of get together, and then
They
there's
come to
probably
department
times when
meetings and-
department meetings and all that, they'd be fully incorporated
Because
into it.
if that officer is sick, Hinesburg would be responsible providing
Right.
another officer to CVU, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's just important for people to understand that from what we understand, they're looking for a school resource officer, not a security force
Right.
or security
Yeah.
officer, in which case they could be contracting with a private security firm,
if that's what they want.
if that's one, or the sheriff's department, or
Yeah.
other things like that, so.
Okay, so it sounds like we'll put this on the agenda. We'll try to advertise as much as possible. We're open for questions from anybody who might want to ask questions or weigh in on this. Anything else on item 4? Thank you, Frank and Caleb.
And Jean?
And Jean, yes.
Appreciate it.
See you around, Caleb. He's going on, he's on vacation.
he's on
Yeah,
vacation.
You never know what I might find out there.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I think I have the agenda here. Next item on the agenda, and I don't think there was anything in our packet
There
on this.
wasn't.
Okay. Is consider highway department request to replace out-of-commission tanker truck. And Mike Anthony's here. Yeah, you might as well.
So, yeah, our tanker is done. It is,
And now you brought that up before,
Well,
I
we're
think.
budgeting money, but it was over a 2-year period to replace it, and we can't use it anymore.
And the tanker is the one that sprays for dust control?
The dust control, yeah, and cleans our bridges and all that, so. So we currently have 15,000 in the new budget to cover that. That was, because we budgeted for 2 years, up to $30,000, but we haven't been able to find a decent truck or tanker anyway, so we've decided, thinking about going a different route on getting a flatbed truck, and putting a skid mount spray unit on it. And then we could use the truck for other things, moving culverts, when we do our the mulch, use it, put the skid on that, and hay on there, and utilize it, because currently we're doing that with 3 trucks when we have to do it, and even moving culverts, we're using a truck and a trailer to move it around, so. I have found another, a flatbed truck. The price of that is $22,400 right now. And then a skid mount unit was about $13,000. So my proposal is, we're looking for $17,000 because we have the $15,000 in our current budget towards that truck. There's a $3,400 and change fund balance left over in our capital budget. And then borrowing $17,000 from our gravel budget. Because we had a total of, I'm missing, I just figured it out. I don't know, 92,000, so there's $52,000 left in that budget for gravel. So,
That
and
didn't
then,
get,
well, no, because we went into a new year, so $30,000 was added to that. We just did the gravel, that was just $44,000 or something, so.
So see how the unallocated fund balance is 62,400?
we don't have it. We don't have
it.
anything.
That's why we're asking.
We didn't get any numbers.
No,
Oh, you didn't get this
Correct.
thing?
Oh, maybe.
that.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, where
yeah.
is it? Hold on,
Yeah.
one second.
So the fund balance, we do have the fund balance
Okay, yeah.
information, so
Yeah.
you're right, so the highway,
Where's it in our agenda?
It is
8B maybe? Or is it
That's all
8A?
water, wastewater stuff.
No,
no, down further.
Reserve capital funds.
it's 8A or 8B. Are you, okay, Renee's might be different. Are you looking at Renee's link?
This is the one you
Yeah.
sent.
Yeah, I
There's that one.
Well, if you go to,
What's
you
that?
have funded,
Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. It's clear. Bear with us a second, please. The one I sent you
yesterday?
It's either 8A or 8B.
yesterday at 3:01,
Do you see it there?
it says reserves, 8A and 8B.
Hang on.
No?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Some say yes, some say no.
Oh, I'm still trying to log into what you sent.
Well, you can pull
You know,
it up
Tom?
if you want.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Here, Tom, it's gonna go up here then. That's odd.
Yeah, my 8B is wastewater,
That's 12.
not on mine.
well, anyway, if you just go forward one page from that,
All right, I got it now.
You do?
there you go.
I don't, go back to your emails. Where?
Yeah, I did, I did that
From
earlier
Joy?
today.
So,
Sorry about that, Tom. I'm
I'll
not
just
sure
look
why.
at it up here, that's fine.
Yeah.
here, see in the 601 funds, how there's an unallocated balance of 62, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I can't see that far. There we go. And then there's another 30 from the current year, because this was as of June 30th, right? Does that make sense? This was what was left as of June 30th in the 601 funds.
The beginning balance of 32.
No, at the bottom, the 62,
That was the beginning of 17.
right.
This is what happened during the year that just ended here.
So that, see if it's where it
Oh,
says
62, yeah.
ending balance.
Yeah.
And then there's an additional 30 that was budgeted for the
Oh,
year that we
yeah.
just started,
Yeah.
which makes 92 and change. And then Mike just spent 44. So there's 50 some odd thousand still in there. So that's what he's proposing to take the extra funds out of.
So these sheets only go through June 30th of the year just ended, and
Okay.
he's
Yeah,
projecting
he's
into the
this
next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is, this is something we anticipated, although it's come quicker than expected. We've already saved a little bit for it. We expected to spend, again, this next budget, more for it. And you've sort of figured a way to squeeze it into this budget by adjusting your gravel a little bit. And rather than just a tanker truck, a flatbed, that you put a skid-mounted tank on it and can use it for other, multi-purpose.
Yep.
And this is a used truck?
2012,
Oh. Not a lot of miles on it.
175,000. And it was a
And it's
local
not a
delivery truck.
Okay, oh, okay, yeah. So, and
mean,
it's
it's
not
not-
like a truck that gets used every day.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
gonna get very
And it's not
many
gonna get
miles.
used in the winter,
Right, right.
okay. And there's room in the garage for it.
Or out in the sand shed, one or the other. No, we filled that garage. Should have left that extra bay on there.
Don't go there.
I filled it after tonight, what I just heard them looking for another bay.
Yeah.
Our garage is full.
Any discussion, and I think I'll leave it open. I mean, normally we hold off and we discuss things and then, we follow up with a vote. Is this something you need? What's your timing on it? If we were to wait 2 weeks or a week and a half, I think it really is, till
week
our
and a half,
next meeting and actually hold the vote, is that gonna work
Because
for you?
then I'm looking for another 2 weeks to get the skid mount. So
Okay.
roads are gonna get very dusty. We
Yeah.
were borrowing Huntington's trailer and tank, but they're gonna be using it too, and so is everybody else using theirs, so
So you'd prefer if we could move on it sooner than later?
we could.
Well, I feel like the reason I would feel okay about moving forward is that this is a budget item and it's not a policy kind of thing. And so, and it's been well thought out, worked with Joy and Missy's office and, I feel okay about
Yeah, I mean, it's not spending more money, it's just moving some
moving
around.
money around, yeah.
And you'll have to live with however you move it around.
Right.
And I like the idea of, this is the first I've heard of using the flatbed versus a tanker truck. That makes a lot of sense, because maybe something else in town might need a flatbed, like the wastewater group or something, for something. But
Green Up Day.
Green Up Day could use a flatbed.
I agree too. I mean, this isn't necessarily a request, more as information. You managing your budget. It's not a policy thing. It's here's a problem, here's a solution. I'm letting you know. It's pretty straightforward to me. Because like you said, you got to live with this decision.
And you've
with
talked
your
with
budget.
Renee on this too?
Yeah.
Or- Yeah, okay.
So, so I'm completely fine with it.
Anybody else? Do we want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make motion to support Mike's request for purchase of a flatbed truck to to replace our pumper a year ahead of time. Tanker, sorry. Fire department has pumpers, you have tankers.
It was their tank.
I know, okay, their
right,
tanker that is primarily used for dust control.
Do you want to include the skid?
And the
And the
skid,
skid mount.
the
And the
skid
skid
mount.
mount. Yeah.
Can you put the amount in? You're gonna
Yes.
Sure.
reallocate?
Would you like,
Just Since we're doing this
Sure,
tonight, it's
sure.
related.
okay, what amount would you like me to put in?
17,000.
17,000.
Well, no, and then plus
then
the
the-
34 that's
Well, that's already in there.
That's already there?
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's
So the
available.
17,000.
Yeah.
So it would be an additional $17,000.
That's coming out of the gravel pit.
Yeah.
So I'll second that certainly.
Did you get that? Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
All right?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passed.
Great, thanks.
That's it, okay.
So we're done.
You're gonna
Thank
sleep
you.
well tonight, Mike.
What?
You'll sleep well tonight.
How much have you been using that tanker?
We haven't.
I know, I know, but how much?
That's a good,
The replacement, the borrowed stuff from Huntington.
No, we used it last week for Baldwin Road and stuff, and, yeah.
do you have a way
Ben-
to get rid of the old one? Is it just a,
Yeah, Frank and Caleb aren't here, yeah, I'm gonna drive it up to Burnett's and see what we can get out of it.
yeah, that's what I was wondering, if it's of that
Yeah.
condition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Well,
It's
it'll get
scrap.
something.
Yeah, should
Yeah.
get something.
Yeah,
put it in the gravel budget.
Doesn't owe us anything, I think the fire department bought that for $5,000.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
it's
and
an
you-
85
You
Ford.
took it from them when they weren't looking. Yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
Lit up in the water so it weighs a lot.
exactly.
Pretty sure they'll figure that out. Yeah. Can I have that? Or do you need it?
all right, thanks.
Okay, everybody coming up next Wednesday?
I haven't heard the
I
date.
haven't
I
heard
can
anything.
send it to them,
Why not?
because I didn't know if you
I don't
wanted me
care.
to. I'll announce that.
All right, okay.
All right.
We
So
can-
what's going on next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, 8
Fire.
a.m.
No.
Taking down the old one?
The old
Yes.
one's coming down.
Okay.
I'll even
Send
send
it.
them our little poem we created
No,
for
don't
it.
send that out.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
12?
yes.
Yeah, and then we'll go on a boat ride, right?
Boy, what a day, demolition, boat ride.
Don't forget the
LCI?
department head meeting in between.
Yeah, it's up there.
Okay.
It's the nicest meeting room we have.
All right, that's good. The next item is, there's, I think, 3 items that you guys are invited for. Number 6, approving the tax sale list. Number 7, authorizing attorneys to conduct that tax sale. And number 8, approving the fiscal year 18 reserve funds. Number 9, assigning the fund balance as of 6/30/2018. So all 4 of those items? All right. So I guess we'll talk about the tax sale first.
Okay. Do you have the list of names?
Yes, we
Okay.
do. It's in our packet.
You know, there's 3 people on there. The first one is the one the first 2 we might merit some discussion. The first one because last year when we had the tax sale, we were, as you recall, that's the person that
Oh, yes.
we,
Do you want me to bring this up?
Yeah, you can. Sure.
that, you know, if anything is going to happen with that one, the town will need to buy it at tax sale, which is essentially paying ourselves
Yeah.
the taxes, so that doesn't cost us anything. The attorney's fees part of it will cost us, whatever, probably about, well, whatever 15% of that is. It's one of those things that's been obviously going on for a long
Yes,
time.
12 years, yeah.
Yeah. And I have also taken, gotten a judgment order in small claims court and, nothing works. And I sort of feel that it's kind of a bad, I feel badly for all the other people up there who are making the effort to pay, and this person obviously is kind of not. And so it would tie up the funds for a year, but they would just be not available for use because they would have to be in our delinquent tax account. But you would need to allocate someone to bid on it if that's the route that
Right.
you want to go. So that's the first one. Second one, again, third time that we've put this property up for tax sale. I have not received any communication or payment in, over 2 years.
Okay.
So,
So in the past, the owner, and typically the owner pays at the last minute.
usually the last minute after the tax sale has
Okay,
happened. So
yeah.
at the end of the redemption period,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And then the third one is just someone who, again, has 3 years now, and it's a significant chunk of change. And so the typically the attorneys don't want to take on a tax sale until there are a certain amount of delinquent taxes accrued, since their pay for doing it
Percentage,
is a
yeah.
percentage. So we have a lot of mobile homes that are on the list, but they haven't yet reached that threshold. So
Okay.
I'm going to try to organize a meeting with some of the park owners, I think, also, just to sort of see if there's a way we can sort of maybe move things along because every once in a while, like there's an abandonment one, and when they are abandoned and considered uninhabitable, then all the taxes just go away. The back taxes, you can't collect them by law. We have to just get rid of them, get them off the books. Yeah.
So are we
So.
perhaps at that you're suggesting?
With some, yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's the list.
And what
then,
would be the process? So we would approve this?
yeah, I'm not even sure technically that you have to
Right.
approve this, other than maybe appointing someone, if it was going to be Andrea again, if you wanted to volunteer to be.
Yeah, be the
Someone who would-
representative if I have to bid on something.
Yeah, and you'll have an opportunity to discuss that further if you want to,
Okay.
because the tax sale won't happen at this point until
October, and
yeah,
the
at least
date's not
October.
set yet.
Yeah, the date isn't
Okay.
set yet because we have to approve hiring them,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to warn it like over a 3-week period. So
Okay.
yeah,
So,
Should I-
do we know if these people have liens on these properties, or
no.
but anybody
Well,
who's
liens
to
in
bid
what
on,
regard?
like a mortgage?
No. If they do, then I would have notified the mortgage holder about the tax sale, and then the mortgage holder will typically pay. So that's part of the problem when there isn't one.
Right. So whoever would bid on these properties would get them for that amount listed there,
Right.
unless somebody overbids.
Right, which is what happened with the tax sale that we had last summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where, the delinquent taxes were only, not only, they were like $14,000, but someone bid $31,000 for the property, so.
Yeah.
So that extra money goes to the property owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
And did
guess,
that one's been sitting for a year though before that person, did that person come in and pay? So that-
No,
Oh, so that it is going to the bidder?
it did,
It did?
Yeah.
Oh, doesn't it have to be like a certain amount of
a
time?
year,
Oh, a year? Oh,
yeah.
well, it's been a
Time
year.
flies.
Yeah, it's been a year. Yeah.
so you're thinking we don't need to make a motion?
But we need to make a motion, to hire them?
Yes.
Yes, that would be
Yeah.
the next item on the agenda.
okay.
So, the next item is to consider authorizing Kohn, Rath, Danon, and Lynch to conduct the tax sale, and just the reason we use that firm?
No reason, other than they're conveniently located and they've agreed to do it. Not everyone likes to do them or agrees to do them, because I don't think it's really a huge moneymaker for them, so.
Okay. And,
It's-
and the rate is a standard rate?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And you've used them before? Mm-hmm. And it's your recommendation we go forward with this?
Yes, because I already talked to them and they said they'd be
Yeah.
willing to do it again, so.
I'll make a
Did you make the
motion.
motion, Phil? Or did you make the motion? Or
No,
just say what it was?
yeah, I'll make that motion that we go forward and authorize Kohn, Rath, Danon, and Lynch to
And
conduct.
Scharf.
And Scharf to conduct the tax sale.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. That motion passed. Now, we'll talk about fiscal year 18 reserve funds, which we need to approve. We do this every year. Yep. And then the fund balance. Is this a report of what it is, or are we approving that too?
Approving that too.
Okay.
Is that a requirement? I wondered that, for
Um,
capital funds. I mean,
We've
I know
always
it is
done
for
it that
these.
way. I don't know if it's a requirement, but we've
Yeah.
always done it that way because I think they are assigned by the board.
yeah,
We have always done it that way.
these definitely are required,
Okay.
yeah.
And that is this one, 8A.
it sideways.
Yeah,
Oh, download it and rotate it.
yeah.
What I'm doing.
Download it and then rotate.
I think I've got it. Where it's not moving anymore.
I can't.
Oops.
Turn it off.
Can you make that, are you trying to do that?
I'm trying to.
It should download as a PDF and then just view and rotate.
Yeah, it's not, seems like I can't get it to download.
Do you have a download?
I thought I did. Arrow pointing down. I'll just do it this way.
Okay.
Yeah, you can turn it. Okay, so you want to tell us what we're looking at?
So the
Obviously, the
first column is that Vermont, that's the 254,000 that we received previously from Vermont Gas.
Yeah.
And we were holding it aside. And then the select board had decided to transfer 190,000 of it to Bissonnette Fields.
Yep.
And $4,000 to the Conservation Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the 194 coming out. And that leaves 60,000 in that reserve. So if approved, that would be the 60,000
Yeah.
that's approved.
Gotcha.
But we voted to put that in a special
We
fund.
did.
The
Yeah.
60,000? What do you
Yes.
mean a special fund?
Well,
For what?
it was going to
Yeah.
be in, you know.
We'd have to go back and get the exact wording on
language,
that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So either the land preservation fund, or that's an existing fund, or that we voted for establishing it for stewardship and land
Yes.
preservation. And so, anyway.
We
we're
could,
not-
I mean, we
I
could,
mean, I don't want to put it in our, well.
yeah,
it's
I mean, it's
reserved.
there,
Yeah.
but it is,
Yeah.
yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
should
so
we-
if somebody can find that motion, or
Yeah.
we can find it, then we
Okay.
can,
We should be able to find it.
Yeah.
We'll make this 0 and put that 60 into the new one.
Yeah,
yeah.
Whatever
Okay.
it's called, we didn't really set any firm guidelines.
yeah, well, it
we
was,
will look at the minutes and.
yeah, we'll look
Yeah.
at the minutes,
That's
yeah.
fine.
There was some
Okay.
discussion about it.
A little bit.
And so we'll move that out, so then that first column would end up as 0.
Okay,
And
that
the
sounds
whole-
good.
time last year?
Or maybe
it
a little
was-
before, who knows?
Oh, I'm just saying I can look it up if I
have some
guidance as to
Yeah.
Oh, I think it was April, May.
Yeah, it was April or May.
I think
A
so.
year ago.
Of
Yes.
17.
Yeah.
17.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Okay. Okay, the next column, records restoration, the money coming into it is for every $10 fee.
Right.
It's
It
$1 gets set
accumulates,
aside.
Yep.
And $119 has been spent.
What?
I know. And so there's 54,000 left in it. Okay.
And do we have any, I mean, this is to improve our vault and do all those things.
Right.
Do we have any specific plans at this point?
We,
Or needs, or,
I mean, there are some, yes, sure, I just haven't had time to deal with it, honestly. There are some old records, and a couple of years ago, we spent a chunk of money, I think about maybe 15,000 or something like that, on encapsulating some of the old
Yeah.
things into some new books, and there's more of that to do.
Okay.
We can also use this, and this is our plan over the next year or two to get, we can buy some computer equipment and, like the scanner.
for scanning?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
And also so that, people can have stations to look up documents rather than actually having to handle the
Yeah.
books.
The books, yeah. Do
so-
we get audited to make sure we're doing a good job?
No, you can have someone come in
Yeah.
and look, and we have had someone do that before.
Give you advice?
Yeah. Most people who come in, and I'm not taking credit for this because a lot of this happened before I was the clerk, but a lot of researchers who come in say that our records are in really, really good condition,
Okay.
which is good. So,
Yeah.
Clean them every night.
Yeah.
Good.
We did buy a dehumidifier this year. Actually, now that I think about it, I could have taken it out of that, but I didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we had an issue last year with a couple of the old books are actually covered in cloth, and the ones that were close to the floor had
Some damp,
some mildew developing on them. So
Okay.
we have been running a dehumidifier. Okay.
All right. The next item.
Yep, and that next one, we have a bunch of books that we need to get microfilmed. We have actually even been calling a couple different firms in the last month.
And the income from that comes from?
That's just kind of been sitting there for a while. We used to budget money for that, but
Why doesn't that just go in records retention?
records restoration,
Yeah,
because the records restoration is specifically that $1 and it
From
can't
the state
be,
statute.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
have to
yeah,
account
so-
for
All right.
how we
Yeah.
spend
Yeah.
that.
And so reappraisal, obviously, we've already started to accumulate some money for that next time.
Yep.
And that comes from the income from that?
A lot of that comes from the state.
Yeah.
That the per parcel money
Fee.
that they send the town, which is I think $8 a parcel, and then there's a $1 per parcel fee, so it ends up being $9. And we have about 2,000 parcels, so we get
Yeah. Okay.
$18,000 a year, plus or minus. Well, you can see the revenue right there, 19,152.
Yeah.
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 So that's kind of something that comes in every year. So,
So we're looking good there.
yep.
And then the land preservation, we spent 10, must have been on the recent farm. Yeah.
O'Neill.
Yep.
Yep.
So we have that put aside.
Can I ask you a question? So does the money, that 60,000 wouldn't just go into that? It's into something different than that? Or do we have to?
I think we have to look at the minutes. I
Okay.
think there was
All right.
something, it wasn't just that.
Okay,
There was some discussion about maybe, but I think
Okay.
it wasn't.
okay.
So the note that I have on this is that there was a specific article at town meeting
Yes.
to
Not in
preserve
town
At-
land.
At a
No?
Oh, the
select
Land
board meeting.
Preservation Fund, yes, that
Yeah.
was a specific article.
The
The
Conservation
1500.
Commission was not from town meeting?
No, no.
The
I mean, that's
Land
just,
Preservation Fund?
yeah, that's not that.
That's the $1,500 addition.
Yeah. So the land
Okay.
preservation,
Oh,
that
yes.
1,500 is in our budget. It's
Right.
budgeted.
Yeah.
The Conservation Commission, I'm guessing that 4,500 also came from Vermont Gas, but through a different avenue. Not.
No,
No,
No.
it was from
That's
the
their old-
Place
their-
Sense Project.
no, that's
Wasn't
actually,
it?
no.
No?
That's their old funds that they had left over when they used to fundraise.
The barn.
The barn
So-
funds,
Okay.
Is the
so-called
barn
barn
fund?
funds.
So
Yeah.
this was money they had fundraised and
Okay.
we took
Yeah.
the
I've
checkbook
been
back. and
telling
kept
Mike
that.
about
Okay.
that, so he
Okay.
knows about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Right, so that was not
Oh,
tax
yeah.
dollars and that's their funds that we're holding there for their use.
The next item is from Vermont Gas, specific to the Conservation Commission.
Yes.
And there were specific requirements associated with that.
right,
Yep.
yep.
The f-
And they're gonna be getting additional fund, $3,000 a year for, I
for a
believe,
while,
10
yeah.
years.
Till
Right.
2026.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the 4,000 from Vermont Gas and then the 3,000
I see,
that's
that's how
gonna
it gets
come every
decided.
year.
I
Yeah.
see.
That's how that
Okay.
comes.
And the fire department's supposed to landscape at some point, right?
Talk about that, releasing that one?
Yeah, we were discussing whether or not you wanna leave that sitting there, is there?
landscaping?
or
Well,
Is there some landscaping still to be done,
Kind
or
of
is it
lot
for?
one, kind of a.
It is, yeah, I mean, I
That's
guess,
what
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
I guess whether that's our decision or, I mean, there's certainly landscaping that could happen
Where
at
did
the
the
fire.
money come from?
It was an origin,
reserved.
it was reserved from a long time ago when they went to the DRB for,
Okay.
I think the addition that got done.
Yeah.
There was supposed
Oh,
to be
okay.
landscaping done then
For the site plan.
for the site plan review, yeah,
I mean, we could have a discussion about, revising that to lot one.
right.
I guess we could do that.
Well, we should maybe talk to the zoning administrator.
Yeah. Okay. All right, but that's been sitting there for a while.
Yeah.
And then fireworks, we got,
So they
19.
started out the year with $5,700. They had a budget of $2,650. They fundraised $2,022, spent 8482, so they're going into, as of June 30th, they had 1,926. Now that's as of June 30th, and then the fireworks for the new year had already been bought. But come around January, they'll be looking at buying fireworks for
Yeah.
following year.
They buy it early. Yeah.
And so they
They only have
have
$1,900 to
1,900
buy.
plus their budget. So unless they do some
Yeah.
major fundraising,
Do they have a budget?
We didn't, I don't think.
their
Yeah.
budget was 2,650. I don't know what it is in the new year, but last
Well, I
year.
can look in here.
So-
and
Is
see.
it in the rec
Yeah.
department budget?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Right, it's
we
not
can
all-
encourage them
We
to
have
look at
some
it.
for dumpsters and porta
Yes,
potties.
right, and
It wasn't
maybe,
necessarily for the fireworks.
Right.
Right, it's 4th of
Right,
July.
4th of
yeah.
July.
Right.
This year's budget is 2935.
Okay.
So.
okay, so,
Okay. So we'll move the 60,000 out of the Vermont gas easement, bringing that to zero, and put that 60,000 into a
I'd
new
call it,
column.
yeah, Vermont gas easement,
Land stewardship for
land- yeah,
temporarily.
Yeah, I think that's.
Well, I wonder why
reasonable.
we have to even move it, or if we can just leave it there but rename it.
Yeah, we could do that.
I mean, there's no reason it
Yeah,
can't just
no.
sit where it is.
Yep.
So,
I sent you an email of those minutes. For that motion,
You did?
yeah.
So that's it, just the one page?
For this one.
And are there any questions on the reserve funds? Or the process at all? So we
It's
could,
just clear, just for audience's sake, it's clear that this is money that has been voted on or donated or whatever, somehow.
Right, it's come
But it's
in.
for specific reasons, so we can't move it around and we
right,
can't.
can't,
Yeah.
unless we go through some process to
Yeah.
do that.
I guess I should ask about the Bissonnette Field funds.
That's coming in the next
Oh, Okay.
presentation.
right.
Okay.
Glad you asked.
All right, so I guess we could I'll make a motion to approve the fund balance as noted on our sheet with the
the
only.
reserve.
The reserve, sorry, and with this change to the first column.
Just change the
Just
wording.
the wording.
Yeah.
And I don't think we changed anything else.
Yeah.
Second,
And, yeah, this is dated 9/5/2018. Second.
I seconded.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that motion passed. The next item, fund balance, so that's the next sheet we have.
So these are the capital fund balances. And if we skip the first page, which is the summary, we can look at, okay, so this next page you've looked at a little bit with Mike Anthony.
Yeah,
So the 600 series, the highway, road, and bridge, there was 5,000 that came from general fund for stormwater planning. And so we're proposing to keep that as $5,000 reserved for stormwater planning. And then the rest of that fund is the highway, road, and bridge. We started out with 92,774. It increased by 427,000, of which 185,000 of that came from the general fund, and the rest of it, 247,000, was grant money that came in.
yeah, from the state, yep.
Yep. We spent 474,000 on those kinds of projects. So going into the new year, there's 44,991 set aside for highway, road, and bridge projects. And that's the general flow of how all of these will work. And so for the highway, gravel, and culverts, the next one, Fund 601, that's the one where we said started with 32,000, 47,500 came from general fund, 17,540 got spent. We're now going to take 17,000 out of this fund
Yep,
and move it to a different one of these reserved funds.
To the
Okay.
602s.
All right, so if you switch to the next page, Fund 602, these are various pieces of highway equipment. So for example, if you go about 6 lines down, dump 2, the 2013 International, we transferred 37,027 in from general fund. We
Yeah,
made
paid
our
for.
final payment, and so that one's now 0. The next one, the 2014 dump truck, we transferred 34,950 in from general fund. The payment was actually 35,628, which probably means the interest rate changed from when it was planned to when it happened. And so we needed another $677 to make that balance, and we know we'll need $677 for the coming year. So that's why we're going to go into the new year with 677. And then for the following year after that, we'll just have to
Disappear.
budget a little bit more for the payment. So now we know the amount. Let's see, we bought a dump Freightliner. Okay, or no, I'm sorry, we made a payment on the dump Freightliner. And we bought a 2017 F-350.
So the excavator and the grader, you can see, are done. Last year,
Yes.
I mean, the year ending June 30th was the final payment, so those are,
They go to 0, yeah?
yeah.
The Freightliner, 5,000, that's 71,764 of increase. 5,000 of that came from general fund. The other 66,000 was a loan. And we bought the item, and we're keeping $5,000 reserved for this because we'll need it for, towards the next year's payment. Okay.
Toward the current year that
Current
we're in.
year, right,
Yeah.
right. And then that leaves, there's 348866, the last number on the far right column before the total. That's what's in this fund but not allocated. And then there'll be another line for the flatbed truck, 17,000.
So Mike is planning to use that
I see.
3488 toward the truck.
So
flatbed.
should we move it to the flatbed line?
Well, once we have a
Once
flatbed.
we have it,
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
Okay.
So the 5,000 for the F-350, we didn't just,
Yeah.
that truck was $140,000?
No.
That's the
it-
Volvo loader, is 143,475.
Freightliner was 133.
I see the Freightliner, but
Oh, Freightliner,
I was talking about the new
The F-350?
F-350.
it was
No.
66,727.
Right, so the 5,000 is just left over.
Yes, from what was in there before we bought the truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we also realized that what was budgeted for the current year that we're in is
Well, it-
short.
And we had expected that 5,000, like if you look at the capital budget, we had
town
expected the
report.
5,000 to be there. So we budgeted 9855 towards the payment, and that plus the 5,000 will make enough for the payment for the
Because now we
coming
know
year.
what the payment's going to be.
Right.
Like,
Right.
yeah. So that's why there's only 3488 that's available.
It's kind of like reserving for
That's
a
like your
specific
adjustment.
purpose.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
And highway garage?
All right. The highway garage, we borrowed $3,100,064 from the bond bank. And that actually is sitting in a separate bond bank account, but it counts as it's ours now, borrowed. And then the decrease is the expenditures. So there's still a lot of, the funds that are sitting there are actually sitting in the bond bank account.
They're mostly spent now, too.
Yeah.
That was as of June 30th,
Right,
they were there. Okay, so there was one.
We're doing really good. Yeah. For the budget, I mean, I thought we were
Yeah.
gonna end up with extra.
Oh,
And And so that big loan, the loan that came for the highway garage, there was also $312,000 borrowed towards the solar trackers. But that's not in these capital
Right,
funds, it's
right.
in the general fund. But I only mention that in case you had in your mind that the loan was bigger than that. That's where the rest of it went. Okay. Buildings and Grounds, Fund 605. Let's see, for example, the sidewalk fund, there was $5,000
Yeah.
from general
Added.
fund. That's just going to sit there towards sidewalk. The tree planting reserve spent $1,786, so their funds went down. The town forest spent a little bit of money. We increased the town hall capital projects reserve by $1,500, so there's $4,000 there now. We made the final payment on the pickup. And so nothing there is unallocated at all, has a specific purpose
Okay.
in these funds. Okay, Bissonnette Fields. Okay, so the first line is the donations to date, is that 160,000. This last year, another 22,745 of donations and fundraising. So the total for the project, 183,312.75 has been raised. The next line is the money that has come from general fund. So a total for the project of 57,000. Then the expenditures to date, 356,000. There's the 190,000 that came in from the Vermont gas funds. Those next two lines, that was a grant from the previous year. It just has to go away. So as of June 30th, there was 73,565 available for the Bissonnette Fields, plus there's another 92,000 in the Eddy funds.
Oh, okay, right.
Okay, so like 160,000.
That
And that
doesn't
was-
show up in here, though.
Well,
It's in
there's a little
there's a little note at the
the
bottom,
bottom.
because it's in a different
The eddy
fund.
funds weren't spent already?
Well, no. I mean, no, that's what your balance is. But now you've spent, since June 30th, you've spent,
I thought the eddy
90?
funds were spent.
I think they were committed to this project.
yeah. But once they're on here, it doesn't matter which dollars you're spending. It's all what your bottom
all in the
line
bucket.
is.
Yeah, so we've spent 356,000 on these fields. If you want to think in terms of we spent the Eddy money and not the other money, it sort of comes out the same. And much more has been spent since June 30th. This
Yeah.
is as of June
This is
30th.
as of June 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I know.
Yeah.
So, so as of June 30th, there was 73,000 and the 92.
Right.
Exactly.
And so since then, so about 160,000
Has been spent.
spent.
I can't remember off
Yeah,
the top of my head,
okay.
but
But
I know I've paid at
We
least a
were
couple
just
big
talking about it
bills.
last
Yeah,
week, so we're in
yeah.
fine shape for that,
Okay.
actually.
I mean, so that's the majority of it has been spent now.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. And they're keeping up to date on where we stand, so,
Yeah, Missy and I have been
yeah,
in
good.
contact quite a lot.
All right.
All right. Any other Bissonnette Fields questions, Tom?
No,
Nope, okay. All right, planning and zoning, absolutely nothing has changed. There's 7,500 set aside. No money was set aside in the current year, so that just sits there,
Oh, yeah, that's right, right, okay.
right? And then the fire department, let's see, was money came in from general fund for rescue equipment of
Yeah.
2,750, and they spent 1,453. We're proposing to take some of those funds towards the rescue pumper. So if you look down to the last line that has activity, the rescue pumper needed another 745.51. Again, it's probably the difference between when the payment was.
And the actual interest rate.
Right,
Okay.
so that's another one that we have to budget higher in a future year.
Yeah,
I think there's, oh yeah. a
but
couple
that,
years
is that
left.
fixed or that can move again, right?
No, not with
That's it.
those loans.
Okay.
Yeah, those stay the same.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And then the scuba units, CBA units, they had $25,000 in those funds. 15,000 came in from general fund, and we borrowed 75,000. That makes up the 90,000.
Yeah.
They spent 93,000, so there's 21,000 still set aside for those. And there'll be payments coming every year.
Right.
Until 2022?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was a 5-year loan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
And then the police department, let's see, there was some money set aside for a mobile data terminal. That's the 117.5. Okay, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
That's the
Connector
road.
Or did
Yeah,
you
that,
already?
well, that's the money from the sale of the building,
No,
the
yes,
117.5.
right.
Yep. So that got spent.
So it got spent out of the general fund. So this proposes releasing it out of these funds so that it hits the fund balance, increases the fund balance of the general fund at the same time as all the expenses come
Yeah.
in there. So they sort of meet. And
Well,
it
the
wipes-
expenses already happened.
Right, but I mean, it'll
Yeah.
happen
Right.
in this year.
Yeah, yeah.
That just
Yeah.
ended, yep. So that money is no longer to be set aside.
Keep your eye.
But if you
where's
sort
the
of
ball?
visualize, like you have the expense and then that decreases your fund balance, and this money was set aside, and then when we release it, it increases the fund balance. So that's what I meant, that they meet there in the fund balance. And then the police department bought 2 vehicles. The Intercept 2017s, and so there's 8,000 set aside, reserved for those, which we will need for the next payment that comes in. So that's another one we should make sure that we look at the budget for the
right
following
amount.
year.
Yeah.
To make sure that we have the right amount.
We can go over all those, Joy, when
Yes.
it's budget time.
Great.
Yep.
And then the only thing that changed in the technology budget is there was 3,500 came in from general fund for the town server. So there's some money sitting aside towards the town server and GIS server.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for walking us through that.
You're welcome. Thank you
There
for
won't be
coming
a
through.
test, right?
Multiple choice.
Multiple. Is everybody okay with moving forward? Make a motion to approve the assigned fund balance report as of 6/30/2018.
We call these the capital funds.
Capital funds.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that motion passed. And I think that's it,
Okay.
right? Thanks for coming and helping us with this.
We may end up with another question.
Oh.
We can't remember what it was right now.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. The next item was for the select board to approve an ERP grant application for floodplain restoration at the new town garage, but we said we were gonna move that to just before the town administrator report. Does that sound
Yes.
agreeable? So that Erik is here, so we can jump right in with Erik Bailey and discuss item 11, the BlackRock well and what the next steps are, and then also review some of the Appendix E from our water wastewater allocation And we don't have anything to necessarily approve, right?
Right, I was wondering
Yeah.
why that was here.
Yeah. I think there may have been some questions at the
Right.
last time, yeah?
Okay.
Previously, you'd asked to see it with the grandfathered water folks
Yes.
with actual allocation number, values versus I'd kind of just transpose sewer numbers across just because the water ones tend to be a little high anyway. So,
The board is asking for further clarification with some of the grandfather, just
Right.
clarification.
So
So
I
we have
just-
that in our packet.
right.
Yeah.
right.
All right, so the
Do we
first,
have any paperwork on the BlackRock?
I don't think so. Nothing
Okay.
in our packet.
Wait a minute, yeah, we do, don't we?
I don't
What did
see
you give,
anything.
you gave me the source permit, that's what, yeah, hold on, let's find it. Well, maybe we don't have it in here.
Oh, shoot, because I didn't
I
print one because it's so thick.
You didn't print it, okay. I thought you were going to, sorry, Eric. I don't think we have.
Well, I mean, in a nutshell, the state approved it.
So we'll start
we
from the
have-
beginning. So
right.
this is a well that BlackRock drilled a couple of years ago, might be 5, I don't know, it seems like a while ago.
not that long
Couple of
ago.
years ago anyways.
Here,
And then I think they've done some preliminary testing and we signed an agreement with them that said potentially we could take it over if we wanted. And they got a benefit from it, a percentage of the allocation. And so, where are we now on
Okay,
that
so-
process?
the hydrogeologist, put together a source permit application. It went to the state, and the state did approve it, with their usual conditions that you have to have 80 feet of casing and bedrock and offset from the stream and all the stuff that we had expected, which we'll do. So that basically puts us at the point where we need to drill. So that's
This
where.
is to make it,
Re-drill, to make it bigger.
to
Well,
make it
right,
the
so-
diameter bigger.
So it's a joint venture on the drilling because they're the ones going deeper, but we're the ones widening it up.
But I just want to be clear for the record and for the
Right.
audience, is that this is a well that's been drilled. We know there's water there.
Right.
We know what the gallons per minute were on this smaller
Initial.
diameter.
Right. Right. So the agreement has BlackRock further, drilling it, bringing from 4-inch up to 8-inch, or 6-inch to 8-inch, and going as far as 700 feet to get more gallonage.
There was a minimum gallonage, so they
Right.
could drill to that point or
Or
go
the
down up to
gallonage.
750 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
And our part of it is to bring it to municipal standards, which means we need to drill a 12-inch casing outside of the 8-inch well down to bedrock, and put a casing in concrete lined, and so it's sealed from outside influence. So
Well-
that's our portion of it.
Why wouldn't we do that after it's drilled to see if the water's there?
It basically costs double to do it that way. It's just, you can't. You have to drill the 12 and the 8 within it.
Okay.
It's just not. You
And
can't do
what's
it.
the cost going to be? I know that's what we talked about.
Right.
What's the cost going to be?
The original ballpark was about 20, but the well driller looked at it again, and he's more in the estimating of between 13 and 14,000.
Our piece.
Our piece of it. Yep, and we have $20,000 in the water capital line item with this in mind, and so
Is that line specifically to do this, or is it for exploring and developing new wells?
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. It was put in there basically for this project. We do put the capital line item, even without the project, in order to build capital.
Yes.
But this year, we knew that we had a capital project on the burner, and so that's what we're gonna aim the bulk of the capital line item towards.
Is this the same line that we were using when we were popping holes all over the countryside trying to find water? Because we drilled what,
I believe it is.
3 or
Yep,
4
yep,
Yeah.
different wells looking for
yep.
water?
Same line item, different year.
Yep.
And the water has been, had some preliminary testing, and what
It
were the
was-
results of those? Because I don't think we've
It's great-
seen it.
It's great water. Yep, it's hard like most Hinesburg water, but all the parameters that the state is looking for are excellent.
So it's not necessarily, the hardness isn't more than what we already have?
Right. It would go through the nano filtration system similar to what's going through it now.
But if we added this with the minimum requirement of flow, we would need to add another train on our microfiltration.
Right. Right.
But the building's set up to handle that.
It
Right.
is. I mean, we to include the boring for the piping through the wall is already done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So if we were to continue to move forward, we move forward, we complete the drilling, and the water meets the minimum level, let's say, because it was close, I think, where it was before.
It was probably 2/3 of the way,
Yeah.
but also with a smaller,
Right.
It had good pressure.
Yeah,
So it has a lot of promise.
yeah. And
still
so
have-
if we were to move forward with it, we'd continue with our agreement with them, which would be eventually taking it over. We would have to pipe to it,
Right.
which it's in a good location.
Right.
Not too bad. We'd have to add the additional microfiltration train. Obviously a pump in it. Anything else? I mean, there's odds and ends, obviously.
Right. I mean, we would need to.
Do the testing.
It would be an
and
upgrade to the facility. It would include a larger clear well outside, for sure. So because the clear well is really a little bit small for what we're doing right now, so we need a larger clear well.
What exactly is that?
So the clear, they've a few different names for it, but the water comes. We produce the water, comes through the train and through the bypass and blends to the.
Yep.
And then it goes outside of the building.
Oh, and it sits
to a
there.
tank. To
And then eventually be pumped, and then
Right.
when it reaches a certain
Right.
level, the
It's a-
pumps kick on. And
Yeah, it's an equalization
get out
tank,
there.
so
Yeah.
So
we
it's
can
up
match
at the
this.
pumping, it's up at the filtration center,
Yeah.
not at the well.
No, right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I was like trying to picture
right,
some
at the
clear
plant.
thing.
So you would need to increase. It's really like it's like a small storage,
So small,
and
yeah.
so that the pump's not running all the time.
Right.
You fill that storage, and when it hits a certain level, pump it up to the tank.
Right. Well, it basically it tries to equalize them,
Yeah.
and it doesn't like it's not a batch system as
Yeah,
such,
yeah.
but it gives you that volume to make sure neither pump runs dry.
Yeah.
Yep. You don't run.
So
you
that
don't get ahead or
probably
behind.
you'd add another one, or that would.
Yeah, I'd have to ask the engineer
Yeah.
if it would probably be a second one with bypass pipe, with connection pipes between them so they level out.
Yes.
That most likely be the best way to do it.
So, are we approving something, or expecting
Just basically giving you guys the heads up because it's a big expense, and I mean you've already, it's already in the agreement. We already have the line item, but when I'm going out and spending 5 figures, I like to stop in to say hi about it.
Well, it would be good to get all the paperwork associated with it
Right.
to us. That'll give us a chance to look at it. If we were to take it up again at the next meeting, with the expectation we'd take action, is that going to hinder you at all? A week and a half?
I will be on top of a mountain in Idaho at that time.
Okay. So you're saying no?
I just won't, I won't be available for the next meeting.
No, okay,
Right.
yeah.
But you can get the,
The source permit and all we can get to you tomorrow.
okay.
I mean,
So all the stuff that we had in the packet that says well, is that
That's
something
for
else?
Something else, yeah.
yep.
I think I have it elsewhere, but I can't get to it right now because it's on
Okay.
our drive.
So maybe we'll do that. I mean, I'd like to just look it over. So what we're
And
saying
we have a
is,
firm, do we, I mean, how does our contract with Frost work? Is it a contract that we have or that BlackRock has and then we pay BlackRock or how's that?
The way of payment isn't really clarified. It's just that how much what we're responsible for, what they're responsible for.
Who's the
So
contract with though?
we have the agreements with BlackRock. We don't have a contract as such with a driller.
Because BlackRock does.
So
I mean, somebody must have a contract with them.
We haven't. They haven't hired him yet. They're most likely going to hire Vermont Well and Pump. So
Which is
which
Frost.
is who we use. Yes.
Right,
Right.
okay.
Yep.
but that would be good to know
No, I mean,
exactly.
I
yeah.
guess I'd like to know, I'd like to see the paper trail of, who's responsible for what
Right.
and,
And what exactly our responsibility is, just
Yeah.
Yep.
to understand that.
Yep.
And then really what the next steps are. So it sounds like the next step, so the state has said, yes, this looks good, passes all the muster required to be a municipal well so far.
Right.
Now we drill some more to see if we get the capacity. Then at that point, there'll be the next step of, then we would have to say, well, what's this going to cost us now to hook it up based on the capacity?
Well, in order to get the actual
And then you'd have to
flow
do
permit, we have to do
the
all the testing.
Yeah, that's
So
where
it'd
they
be
do the
good to know what-
drawdown.
really
Yeah,
to
what the next
outline
steps
what
are.
all the next steps are in order to, and what what our estimated costs are to bring this well online.
Yeah, and not in real detail, but in,
At least outline all the steps and put an estimate of the cost, knowing that it's there. But really, I think and possibly schedule.
a schedule, a rough schedule, yeah.
I can do the source permit if you can provide the other information. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah, it would
have,
be,
because
yeah.
as I say, I have access, but I don't have access right sitting
Okay.
here. Okay.
Yep.
So we could make that an action item, that we would get an outline of the scope of work,
Yeah.
4 or 5 steps, whatever they are, a rough cost, and really what the timing might be. Obviously, we would approve things as it moves forward, but, potentially the drilling's gonna take this long, and then if the next step is the state doing their verification of capacity and the drawdown to make sure we're not sucking it out of somebody else's well, I
Right.
guess.
The drawdown testing would be next. That would not that actually won't happen until next spring.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Well, I guess that
So,
would be,
that's the kind of stuff,
anticipation
yeah,
of like,
just
okay,
give us a plan.
the earliest that this well will be online is like next fall or
Right.
the spring of 2020 or,
Okay.
and because if we're really thinking about rates
Right.
and allocation,
We'd have
how we're
to, we wanna see what's the impact and
Right.
are our allocation costs, how much is that gonna cover?
Right.
Okay.
Great.
Yep.
Have you been having any discussions with BlackRock or?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They're ready to hear the drill baby drill.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So then, is that it for that?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought you guys were done. I apologize.
No, that's okay. And
Yeah.
then, so, and I guess, we'll look at the stuff for next week and we can make a motion, say, yeah, let's go forward and do the drilling.
Okay.
So
That sounds good.
with you being gone, that won't affect anything, or will it?
Well, I mean, it's gonna be, I'm leaving midday, I'm leaving next Wednesday, and my plate's already full, so it's gonna be a scramble, but I'll do my best to get it all together.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of, if we approve it,
Right.
Who's gonna?
Oh, it's not gonna make a difference. I mean, we'd actually, talking with Ben, we're looking at cutting ground until October anyway,
Okay,
So-
all right.
Okay.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Yep.
so.
All right, the next item on the agenda then is just to review Appendix E and the quarterly allocation holding report. We have a copy. We had several copies in
Yeah,
there.
well,
I
we
was a
have
little
some different
confused
stuff.
about 'em.
Sorry, you
different
have the
stuff.
water, the wastewater, you have.
And the previous water,
And the previous water, so that you could compare it, and the grant, as Eric refers to as the holding grandfather.
it's just the kind of the cheat sheet, we call it.
So we don't have anything we need to approve, but we were just going to take a
Right.
look at it. So should we look at 12C, the grandfather values? Is that the one?
Yeah, we can do that first.
So an accountant would cringe at what I did here, because my parents aren't subtractions, they're just showing you the grandfather water allocation numbers versus the ones below them are actual water allocations because of the date they came on.
So the ones with the dates are not the grandfathered ones.
So no, not the ones with the dates, the ones that have no, so if you look at the water column, the only column
Oh,
that
I
has
see.
parents,
Yes.
the ones down beyond, basically beyond July of 16 have no parents because those are actual allocations that were bought and paid for. Or, application fees were paid and holding fees are being paid.
For specific numbers.
Right. So I took the actual allocation chart stuff and put those against the historical ones, and those are the ones you see in parents.
In the parentheses, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
so why would we not just take the bottom 4 that you mentioned?
Well, I mean,
Oh, I guess they have more.
Because the
Because
top ones were ones that they were before we had an allocation policy.
Right.
And so Eric just made an assumption of what he
previously
would.
previously I'd basically just used the wastewater numbers against the water in order to just get a rough estimate.
So that he
because-
could make the other charts.
Right.
Yeah.
And you guys wanted to see it with the water numbers, so that's what
The
this
water based on the formula
Right.
that we use for
Right.
water, 750 gallons,
Right.
whatever it is.
is. Right. So in case you wanted to amend Appendix E to show those, I did up a new one based on the new numbers and based on, more months of flow data. So if you look at the one that was approved,
Hold on, let me get that one.
which is the one,
That's
What
D.
number's that one?
That's Appendix D, the one that you approved at the last
Okay.
meeting.
right, that's that one.
Yep.
So that one has, it shows a little bit less in allocation numbers because I was using lower numbers. But because I had just a short period of flow data after we repaired the leaks, and because I was, using wastewater numbers, this year I took it upon myself to bump the reserve, which is typically 5% to 10% on that one, just to be cautious. So with the new numbers, which are obviously bigger and more conservative, and the fact that I've got more than double the flow data and it still shows the same,
Which is good.
Right. I bumped the reserve back down to 5%, where it had been for years. And we actually end up with an extra 5,000 gallons of water.
So we have this one says draft.
It does, because you haven't approved it. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yes.
First one
Yes,
you guys did
the one, it does say draft, but it's the same one. It's not, I grabbed
I thought we signed it too.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Okay.
This
You
is just
did,
not
and I
the.
have a copy,
Okay.
sorry, Eric, 1 second, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I do have a copy of it signed here, but then
Yep.
after the conversation about how numbers
We
weren't
held
matching,
Right.
back. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, yep.
if you wanna see
So,
them, I do have
yep.
them.
So here's the numbers we said, that looks good, but gee, what about these allocation numbers that are missing from the old
Right.
one?
So-
You're saying,
I
here's
found-
what we had, now you've gone back and looked at it a little more, you put those numbers in the grandfathered one.
Right.
You've got a little more data on how our wells are performing, and you're saying, geez, if I was to do it today, I would be looking at, and what's the number of that
Let me
one?
get to that one. I think it's A,
Yep.
it's letter A.
Updated draft. You would be looking at this one, which instead of 10% reserve has
Went to
5,
5. Yep. Just because
and the numbers have changed a little bit? Is
So yeah,
that-
the allocations, because they're using the water numbers, which are bigger than wastewater numbers.
Yep, have
know.
increased a little bit.
Right.
We're saying, hey, those allocations, we've upped those numbers to match what would be the state. When those people signed up,
We just
What-
didn't have an allocation.
we didn't have a number. We
ordinance.
just assumed you got it.
Right.
You got the water with the wastewater.
You got the water with the
Right.
wastewater.
So now we're saying, yeah, you do have the water with the wastewater, and here's the number
Right. Yep.
based on our new
This-
ordinance.
Right.
And they're gonna
And-
pay on it.
Yeah,
Right.
and,
Right.
I mean, they've all asked for, to be re-upped to it, so they should meet the new
Right.
requirements in a way.
Right.
Seems reasonable, yep.
Right.
Okay,
Well, some of them, if they'd expired, they had to re-up.
Right.
And that was the confusion,
Oh,
is
they're
that
yeah.
Right.
some people had exceeded their amount of time that they could have the
Yeah.
allocation,
At the
so
end,
they
yep.
needed to extend it. But it wasn't a complete list.
yeah.
Right.
So that's where there was I had some confusion anyway.
You know, maybe our policy should be, if you want to extend it, we will take that under consideration, but you would need to meet the latest
Well,
requirements.
we won't have that problem again because we now have an
Okay.
allocation. And when they're asking for the allocation, they have to give us, we are currently using the state standards for the
Yep.
3 bedrooms.
Okay.
So we will have a number.
Right.
Yeah,
For,
okay.
for all going forward, I mean, when we first did the water allocation, I think everyone was in agreement that those who were granted wastewater allocation prior to July 1, that list and that list only would be exempt for those projects from paying water allocation. So they're not getting, they weren't expecting that when they signed up.
And originally.
Right. And I believe that was my
But if they
understanding.
haven't used it
at the
and they're
time.
asking to be re-signed up,
Right.
why wouldn't they have to go
Well,
through the process?
I guess that could be,
Since
if you
somebody
wanna do that
new is
next
gonna
time.
have to pay that.
yeah, if you want to make that the policy when they have to do it again, if they're not done, then you guys can do that. Yep.
I mean, you could argue it a
Yeah,
couple of
we
ways.
should
yeah.
look at,
Not
what's
saying
the
one
time
way or the other.
period for the
You've got 3 years for any
Right.
of them to figure that out.
Yeah.
So. And I would actually figure it out ahead of time that
Right.
might actually get them to move faster. If you choose,
Maybe.
if you choose to charge them the whole thing, it'll probably get them to move faster on their projects.
Maybe, I would
It may or may
guess
not.
There's a little money there, but
It's a
it's
significant
not
number, so.
the
It's
amount
probably
of
not
money
what's
as their
holding them up.
project, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that, that's, it is something you could do.
All right, so now we have this new draft. And the only difference, if we were to walk through it, side by side with the existing one, that's this
It's,
one?
category 3 would have a little bit more water.
Well, wait, if we go up and look at the top,
Right.
some of the numbers are different.
Right. Right. The approved allocations
10%,
Is-
5%.
is a little bit more because they're
Yeah.
using actual water numbers.
Remaining capacity is the same.
Yep.
approved residential has changed
It's
because it's
higher.
gone up, because we've included those at the new rates. Approved enterprise has gone up a little bit too, because some of those did the same thing.
Actually went down a little, just because,
Well, oh yeah, it went down, sorry, yep.
yep.
Yep,
It was just because, who was it? Well, one of them built out and was off the list, so it just
Okay.
disappeared.
and then we've changed the reserve from 10 to 5.
Yep.
And
which
your
is-
justification for that again is?
was both were using, bigger numbers for the allocation, and we have more than double the flow data that still pans out those numbers.
He's more confident that our
I'm
well is
confident in our well.
doing.
Yeah.
We're confident that our system is tight,
And-
basically.
And those numbers, based on, you're confident now on, but those were put in the original, right? But now you're just feeling like, yeah, they're
Right.
good. So
Like, it's
that
just-
reserve, you had
Right.
you had a little more in that reserve. Just
Right.
wanted to get more time
More
under our
confidence.
belt.
Right, 'cause like, for
Okay.
instance, the actual water use of 130,300 gallons per day. August's actual use, and August was a big month, I think, because it was so hot, pools, sprinklers, you name it, was within 200 gallons of that,
Of the 191?
of the 133.16 gallons a day.
Okay.
Yep, it was 130,500 some odd gallons a day. And with it being a record heat month, that's pretty good.
Okay. Good. So then, so that increases the allocable capacity.
Yep.
And then in category 1, that stays the same. Category 2 has changed.
Well, I just didn't put in, I didn't put in the stuff that you had approved last month, that's all.
10,000, we
I
had
didn't- I
total,
didn't
and
put
5
in-
and 5. I see.
No, 7,500, 2,500.
5, it should be.
7,500, 2,500 is what you approved last week,
I don't have
last
the right
time.
one.
I
That was
basically
June.
just left those, I left that part blank,
Try this one.
Well, you
No.
didn't leave it blank, put
well,
10,000.
All right, you're right.
I didn't update it. It was-
Okay.
the-
I
the-
remember that.
The
Yeah.
form I had didn't have the third lines filled in. I was focused on the upper section,
Yeah.
which is,
Yes.
that's my
So-
meat and potatoes.
So that stays the same. We
Right.
have 10,000, category 2, 75 and 2,500.
Yeah,
And category 3 now increases from 9360 to 14,121. And that we had split 50-50 last time.
right. But I think you're gonna have, the little birdie told me that you're probably gonna be requested to do some of the same thing you did in category 2 and category 3 as soon as the next meeting, probably. So, that's, just because, planning and zoning and BlackRock
There's other
have
discussions.
they have a vision.
Well, I think that it's important that we,
Yep.
like if, either we're gonna make a commitment, like what's our policy? What do we wanna see? That's why we're having
Right.
this allocation committee.
Yeah.
Because we are trying to use this allocation to prioritize the type of development and growth that we wanna see. So I'm hesitant to start fussing with
Yeah,
it
right.
depending on who's coming.
Right.
Right.
So I
Well,
guess we need
Yeah.
to
Well,
explain that to planning and zoning.
I do think that anything in the future would be different than the last time, because the last time was kind of already an approved
Yes.
development.
Exactly.
So I do agree with you there, that
Yeah.
we, I mean, maybe we can fluctuate the numbers given the
Right.
new total,
Right.
but we shouldn't necessarily do it depending on who requests it.
Right.
I
Right.
guess would be the.
Right.
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 And that's why I left that section blank, because that's really not
Yeah.
my section. My section's, the water.
But
I think
all of
you're-
these
you're-
numbers add up to 31.
Yes, 31,621.
621.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, what do we want to do? Do we want to, we haven't we have one from there.
Yeah.
Now we have another one that at the last minute we decided not to move forward with.
Right.
Now we have Erik coming back and saying, hey, I got a little more accurate numbers. And incorporated that grandfather. I mean, we could consider taking this up next time, adjusting the numbers and following the same allocation we did in the previous one. 75, 25,
Yep.
and 50-50, and just be done with it for now.
Well, the other thing we have to consider also is whether we're going to do it by each one of those districts. How much are we going to give to each one of those districts?
Yeah, and that makes more sense to me. If we're going to think about residential versus enterprise, I would think that commercial would have more enterprise, same with industrial. 5 in the residential, obviously, it's going to have more residential.
Well, I mean, that just puts more detail into it, right?
Right, right.
And do we
But
have the
but
information now to be able to say that?
Well, I don't know if we do, but I think that's where, you know.
Where we want to go?
where we want to go. And, you know, if we're dealing with the 14,121, we need to be thinking about, well, what if somebody came in and wanted all of that in one district? You know, then that's.
Well, that's what the committee's working on,
Right.
right?
So I'm feeling
So
like.
today, it's there now, it's just a different number, 9360. No, it's,
No, it's.
Or 14,121.
14,120,
Yeah, 14.
14,121
That's the
is,
most recent one.
okay?
Oh,
are
with
the
the
new
new
numbers.
numbers, it's
You know,
well,
1,400.
and that's,
well, there's no new numbers, we haven't approved it, so.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
It's 93.60.
Right, those are numbers of,
So it's 9360
Okay,
now.
it's,
Right.
it's currently
Yeah.
9360,
So,
yes.
so I guess I'm asking the question, we could just leave it where it is
And you-
and, but, you know, we have new
No, we
numbers.
have-
It
Yeah.
seems more accurate.
Right.
And we haven't signed this one yet.
right, I mean, you could do
So-
that, because that would actually potentially put that almost $5,000 kind of in a savings bank out, you know, for next year or following years. You know?
No, it would
No,
would
it
mean
would
that
make
it
it
would
a-
be,
it would
make
make
it
it
available for
allocable.
some other district.
Right.
Right.
But I'm saying if you don't approve it this year,
Right.
Oh.
it's kind of tucked in the back. It's still there somewhere, but it's just not approved for allocation. You know, I'm saying the volume is there. It's just not
Right, got it,
where it can be used.
right. So whether what we approve, because generally, our schedule is from July 1 to June 30th. This is now the dated September
Yeah.
to July.
Right.
So it's a question, are we changing these numbers
Right.
partway through the year?
Well,
Yep.
I mean, I think that's okay if we've got more accurate
Yeah.
numbers. I mean, another option would be to use the new numbers, leave the reserve at 10%.
And then your numbers will actually go down.
Is that what it ends up being?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And what would category 3 end up being? So if we reserve 10%,
Hold on a second.
remaining capacity, is 6,300.
If you left everything else the same, it would be.
Oh, that's easy enough
You
to
wouldn't
say.
have any.
10, 1750. Yeah, we would.
Well, are you reserving
Yeah,
the
you'd
10?
still reserve the 7,500 and the 10,000, and then in category 3 would go down.
Well, I'm just saying, if you took 9675 away because you
That's
added 96.
another 96. If we change from
Oh, yeah, she
5%
would,
to
you're right.
10%,
14,121 minus 9675 would be, yeah, you'd have 4,446 or gallons in category 3.
instead of 9360.
Right.
If we change the percentage somewhere between 5 and 10, we could leave that at 9360 or put it at 10,
Right.
and then leave that percentage a little bit higher, and that would allow us, that would not allow us to allocate it all to
Right.
those zones and give us some time to determine how is the best way to allocate, since it is limited.
Right. And, the allocation committee, I think we have a deadline of the end of the year,
Okay?
so,
So, so we could use the new numbers, which give us a little more capacity, change it from 10% to something a little lower, but leave the allocation quantities in each of the categories the same. And then that would just, put those additional numbers into the reserve. And we were already reserving 19,000, and here we're only reserving 9. So we will,
right.
we're not changing it that much. We're actually probably reserving a little.
So let's see, 7% would leave 8,300.
We don't have to come up with
Yeah,
the exact
whatever.
numbers,
I just,
but
Okay.
how is that sounding for everybody? We update with the new numbers, so going into next year, we got the new numbers, or we adjust them based on what we know. We now have those grandfathered ones in there at appropriate quantities. We leave the category, each category allocation where it is now. The reserve will go down from the 10% a little bit, but we will have a good reserve, and so that we can allocate in the correct categories based on the committee findings.
So what reserve?
I mean, we could always do-
I'm confused about
to make
that.
it simpler-
More than 5 and less than 10?
Yep.
to make it simple, you want to just leave 5% reserve and then add another line that's just additional reserve and then just the actual gallons difference.
No, I think then we have to change the form, and
Okay.
we've practiced this one like 5 times, so.
Could you make the updates?
Are you?
So you just want to find that percentage
Yeah.
that gets you
And you know what? It doesn't have to have 3 decimal points. I mean,
Right, get you-
right now we've got 9360, so it
Somewhere-
could go up to 10.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Okay. Okay.
You want to make those changes and
Yep.
send them over?
You all right with that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then we'll look at it next week or a week and a half from now and go ahead and finally perhaps approve it and sign it and have it out there. And then the committee will have the latest numbers.
Easy enough.
All right. So there was one other item I had written down, Eric, and that was concerning a credit for Brett.
Yes.
Are we all set with that? You were going to write a memo,
Yep.
a brief memo or something to Missy, and
Yep. We got the we had numbers because we had erroneous numbers on that because somebody had thought his CO came earlier than it did.
yeah, I mean, I
So
think we
we've got-
talked about it.
Right, so we just got to go around and now that we found the actual CO date, recalculate it and give him the new numbers.
okay, so
he,
that's
he knows it's coming.
Okay.
We sent him the first memo and he said, hey, but my CO was this date.
okay.
So we're just
So
recalculating to give
you're
him.
going to go back and
Right.
adjust it. Okay, so
Yep.
it's still open, but you're working on it. Good.
Yep.
Anything else for Eric?
Unless you want to
We're going to do the executive
Oh,
move item 17.
oh, that's right. Yes. So we do have an item that we talked about going into. The item 17 was to move to executive session to discuss an issue. Do you want to say what the issue is? It's
Do you want to explain what the issue is?
Personnel issue?
No.
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
I mean, I've never done executive session, so I'm not sure what you say beforehand or not.
Can we use the name or how?
I think there's a
Just like,
potential.
let's say a customer
li-
concern.
Yeah,
Okay.
and is there some potentially legal?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a potential legal issue with the town, and associated with the water system. A user or somebody perhaps impacted by the water use system. And so we have to discuss what our legal options are and potentially move in a certain direction. So some litigation that the town or the district it would be the district that would potentially be in trouble.
Right.
Okay. The purpose of moving into executive session would be,
Premature disclosure
pre-
will put the town at a disadvantage.
yes.
Potential,
So that would be the first motion,
Second.
okay?
I'll make a second motion to go into executive session and include Erik Bailey, Joy, Julie Grossman,
Under the provisions of Title I, Section 313, 313A1A.
copy and paste.
I'm just looking to make sure.
Section 2 and
I think it's right.
I think it's on the screen for you.
Oh, okay. A1, A2, and A3. What we could do is maybe go on hold for a little while. And how long do you think this might take us?
10 minutes maybe. I mean, it's preliminary, so,
20 minutes?
or less, probably half of that.
All right, I would say 20 minutes or less.
Yep.
And so we do need a vote on the second motion.
Well, did you make it and who seconded?
I guess I made it.
yes, and I,
And Tom seconded it. All those in favor on the second motion to move into executive session to discuss the issue with the water district, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that motion passed. It'll be about 20 minutes. We'll come back. All right, we're back. So we need a motion to come out of the executive session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it for you.
And seconded. There's no actions that we took in either executive session, and just note that. No actions to take. And so we're going to continue on our agenda. We got just a few more items left. One was to consider approving the ERP grant application, and this is a Lewis Creek Association wrote a grant. Maybe I'll let you talk about it, Andrea.
So this is part of the highway garage. One of the reasons for doing the highway garage bond and the whole new way garage was to get it out of the floodplain. I don't know if people realize there's a brook that comes down off of Hayden Hill behind there. And so Lewis Creek Association actually, and the town for years have been studying that brook, and it really there's a lot of erosion on there because it doesn't have access to its floodplain. It carries, part of the highway garage was to take the gravel pit. Anyway, we've gotten a grant for the stormwater system, the design of the stormwater that was part of the garage, and part of the recommendations from the stormwater and from other analysis that we've done would be to try and restore the floodplain. And that is also was presented to the DRB as part of the landscaping for the highway garage. So LCA has written up the grant. As the landowner, LCA needs to have a letter of support, basically that as landowner you support this project. The engineer, Mylone and McBroom, who have done multiple years of work and study on the brook and were the stormwater engineers, are the engineers. LCA got a grant to do the preliminary design for it, so that through the ERP. And the total project cost is actually going to be $421,846. What has always been carried as the town's match is the $60,750, which was the estimate provided by the estimator on the total, when we were doing a construction estimate for the total project.
Yeah, so it's embedded in the project.
Yes, it's embedded in the project. LCA has checked with the state to be sure that the demolition of the garage can be counted as our match, as the town's match. And Mike will be keeping track of his hours and the costs of that demolition. So at this point, in order to submit the grant, which is due on September 10th, Lewis Creek Association needs letter of support and a letter of commitment that the town is willing to do the operations and maintenance, which means checking it. It's not something that is going to need to be mowed or.
It's not like a stormwater.
It's not a stormwater.
But there is verification that.
Yes.
That it's in place
Yep.
and operating.
Yep. So the costs include doing, check dams, doing some regrading, basically taking some of the soil out of the floodplain, regrading. Mostly it's the area where the garage was.
Yeah.
And a lot of planting. So it's really the planting aspect of it that is meeting the
So
requirement
instead of being
from
a
the.
stream with some berms that kind of keep it there, it'll spread out a little bit more
Right.
into a sort of a forested, eventual
Yeah,
forested.
it is forest now,
Yeah.
so part of it is trying to not disturb the existing vegetation, but to replant the area that doesn't have vegetation. It's actually, there's different channels in there where you can see where the stream used to be and where it floods, so it's a combination of grading, check dams, actually putting debris in there so that it does have access to the floodplain, and for it to be allowing the bed level to rise over time so that it
So it
so
uses
it
the whole
uses it.
area.
Yeah, maybe not in our lifetimes.
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, it seems like a pretty positive thing. I think it's been in the works for a while. And so you would need a letter?
A letter of support, and maybe we could make a motion to ask for the town administrator to be able to sign it.
Yep.
And a letter of
Okay.
commitment.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
discuss that. Do you have the contents of the letter, or do we?
I can.
I
do
have one
that.
question,
Yeah.
Andrea. Why does she show the state of Wyoming
That's an old copy. Where are you?
on, I don't know, the cover page? Shows her town of Charlotte, state of Wyoming.
I think because she hit, it's on those,
Yeah.
those
I
things, so
just
it.
might wanna
Yes.
correct
yes,
that, that's
yes, Yeah. Thank
So
you.
who needs to sign this?
Nobody needs to
Or write a
sign it.
letter.
Well, I think we'll make a motion to approve the town administrator or assistant to sign a letter, not recommendation.
A letter of support
a
as the
letter of
landowner.
support,
And a letter of
from
commitment.
from the town, and then a letter of commitment for our portion of the cost.
No, a letter for the operations and maintenance,
Oh,
that
okay.
we're willing to verify that, the plants are there, that,
Okay,
we're making sure that the
Maintaining it.
runoff are from the, whatever, are not coming in. I'll write it up based it on what it says in the grant.
I'll make the motion.
all right, very good.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, did you get that, Val? So there's the two letters and authorizing the town administrator or administrative assistant to sign in our place. All right, very good. Thanks for doing all this. This is really good stuff. And-
Mike's been involved, Joy
Yeah.
and Renee. We've had meetings
Great.
with the wetlands people from the state, from the stream alteration permit guy.
What a great project. We got
It'll
the
be really-
great project and then restoring that whole area because we used to store the salt there. I mean, it's just,
Exactly.
it's just well done. So all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye, so that motion passed. Thank you. Next item, town administrator report.
All right. Well, I am happy to say we now have begun to move things into the highway garage. And the demolition of the old garage will be next Wednesday at 8 a.m. You're all welcome
Okay.
to attend this event. Pretty exciting, for
Is there
sure.
like a plunger that, you can push the button?
I'm not sure Mike's approach, but I will send you the invitation and you
Okay.
guys
Will the fire department be on hand?
Okay, that's good.
Not a lot of burnable material.
So they've
Yeah.
moved in completely at this point? Or
Just
close to
about,
it?
just about. We've taken the old building off the insurance, so everything of value is out of that old building. They've removed the old salt shed, a
Yeah.
week or two ago. So by and large, yes, they have
Great.
moved in.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah, it's-
I'm looking forward. Last time I was there, it was only partially built,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll be very surprised.
Fondly remember our Christmas dinner there,
Yes.
which is why we had it there.
All right.
Okay.
And the other thing that we'd like to share is that we continue to work on the Village North Sidewalk project, and we're bringing together next week Jan Blumstrand from
Excellent.
NRG.
Yeah,
What's his name? It's going to come to me.
from Jolly.
No, Pete. No.
Okay.
Pete Pochup, who is our new V-Trans partner
Okay.
for the sidewalk. Doug Henson from Lamoureux
Yeah.
and Dickinson, Renee and myself. We're going to get all these parties together just to confirm, okay, if we can make up the shortfall, do we have everything else in place?
Okay.
Because we seem to come across things that we haven't heard before, and we don't want to have a commitment that we can make up the shortfall,
Yeah.
but then come across a permit that's out of date or something that's a problem. If that meeting goes well, hopefully we'll be in a great place to start some bid situations for winter bidding, but let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
Excellent.
It's
It's
been a
good to
little
be
bit of a-
making progress, and thank you and everybody else for working so hard at that.
We've
Yeah.
learned a lot. I really think that's about it right now.
All right. Select Board Forum?
I'm curious about what is happening with informing the public about the status of Chittenden County Solid Waste District.
Yeah, so we discussed maybe having a public meeting about it, inviting them here, and,
Renee has reached out to them, to Sarah, through email, and has not yet heard back. That was,
We also discussed sending a letter out to town residents to put forward our point of view.
my memory serves me, sometimes not so good at this hour, by the way, that Renee was gonna reach out first,
That's
I
right.
thought.
That's right. I just-
And I thought that was the
So
order.
that we could put in the letter the date that we were
right,
gonna have it.
exactly.
Right.
Yep,
And she said, within the reaching out to her through email, we'd like to inform people, but yet she hasn't heard back. So I'm not sure, maybe she heard today, but
okay.
I'm not sure where her email's at right now.
Yeah. So
I
let's-
just feel like I've seen this movie before, and I don't
Yeah.
like the way it turned out last time. I'd like us to be at the forefront of the story.
Good idea.
Well, let's
see where the email
Yeah,
situation
let's
is
see
at.
what the email situation is, and since it's coming from the town administrator or yourself, from that, rather than one of us, we should at least bring Lynn Gardner
Yes.
into
Yes.
it, like, here's what we're trying to do,
Yep.
so he knows.
Yeah.
Yep, good idea.
But our thought is, let's have a public meeting that will get CSWD to need to be able to articulate exactly what's happening, what their steps are. We can say, hey, we're ready. We've always, included it, we can go through and tell our story and what specific, give some people in our town some commitment of exactly what's happening. So,
Well, we will check on the status if there's been any email response or not, and then
Okay.
we can also
Sounds good.
inform Lynn.
Yes, that sounds good.
Could we have some time deadlines on this? Because
I'm happy to
I
check
know
with
that
Renee
a
if
month
she's.
can go by and we can be
Well, we have
having
a
the same
meeting in a
conversation.
week and a half, so we can get an update in a week and a half. Does that seem reasonable?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is that
Um,
okay?
Could we schedule the public meeting in a week and a half?
We can't schedule it until
Not-
we hear
not
from
that it-
them.
Well, that's what
You
I'm
know,
worried about.
I almost feel like, if we don't hear back from
Yeah.
them, we can schedule the meeting
Exactly.
and we're inviting them.
Because it's our meeting.
It's our meeting.
Right.
We,
Or we can at least send the letter out.
And if they
Yeah.
don't show.
I just,
Okay.
All right.
I do
so
feel
let's-
like-
We'll
yeah,
have
I
this
mean-
discussion a week and a half from now. We'll decide if, in fact, we're not getting anywhere, or they haven't responded, or whatever. Maybe we can get Lynn and sort of say, let's do it. Let's have one.
Hang on.
Oh,
They agreed to send a letter if we have a date.
okay.
No, okay.
What?
But. Hang on here. I don't. They agreed to send a letter if we have a date. I have reached out twice, no response.
Who are you speaking with?
This is
It
from
must be
Renee.
Renee.
Yeah, but I guess I feel like,
Hi,
I would
Renee.
like the letter to come from the town.
Yeah.
We were worried about the cost of sending that letter. I
Right.
do very much feel like that letter needs to come from the
Yeah.
town.
Okay.
And SB agreed to send out a letter if we set a date. So, this is from Renee.
Set a date for.
For the meeting.
Right. For the meeting,
So
so let's set a
here's-
date.
Yeah, so,
But we don't want the letter to come from
well, we
Chittenden
can,
County.
No, we're coming
We
from
want it-
us.
yeah.
Yeah, so what do you mean they agreed to send?
That's what Renee just said, but
Yeah, so I'm
she
confused
just
about that.
sent another email. It says, Select Board agreed to send out a letter if we set a date.
Okay.
So let's set a date.
Yeah, so, I mean, rather than try to set a date right now, I would propose town administrator or assistant, take a look at the calendar, give us a couple of options, I guess, or do a doodle poll.
Okay.
So that, and it doesn't, all of us don't have to be there, it's not necessarily a select board meeting, or is it?
Doesn't have to
No. So,
You'd want it as a separate meeting?
yeah, I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I think that they meant she was meaning us.
Yeah.
I'm interpreting that.
I think so.
Okay, so
you're
I
right.
think we're clear.
That's
I
not
think we're-
pronoun abuse.
Yes, it's clear that what happened is that Renee has reached out to them twice. They have not responded. We, as a select board, agreed that we would set a date,
Yeah.
a letter, and we're gonna do the date.
And we could, do it in
Thanks,
between,
Renee.
one of ours, we could do it on a Monday night, and,
Doesn't have to be our Monday, though.
right, could be, but we can, take a
Okay.
look. And,
Yeah, all right.
You guys also know what's on our agenda. I mean, if we think it'll be about an hour, I don't know that it'll be much more, talk trash. So, probably that would be enough. I mean, we could ask CSWD too, how much time, if they wanted to make a presentation or something. If we can fit it in one of our meetings, that'd be fine. We'd have to go upstairs, that's all.
Maybe when you propose the date, just look at their calendar to see if make sure they don't have any board meetings or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, work with them.
We want to make sure that have the opportunity
Right.
there.
At least they
Yes.
have their meetings posted on their
Yeah,
calendar, and then.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so that's good.
They have a lot of staff, and I'm sure they.
So I guess
We
our
want to send
goal would
somebody.
be, in a week and a half, we'll have a date. And, hopefully, it sounds like they've agreed to participate, and we'll
Well,
be ready
I
to
don't think
send
she's
out.
heard from them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that's
So,
the
all
part
right,
that
gotcha.
hasn't
Yes,
happened.
that's the
Got it.
part that
Sorry.
has not
But
happened,
whether
so.
they participate or not, I just feel like this is clearly important to the townspeople. A
Yes.
resolution was passed at our town meeting.
Yeah.
And we need to keep them updated as clearly as we can and as
Yep.
as timely a manner as we
Yeah.
can about what's happening, because
We can
people want to know.
show, the map of which, the layout, and where, we provided the space, and
Run through the
go down through the
timeline.
steps. Yep.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Anything more for Select Board Forum? we did get to participate in the
I was
LCI.
gonna
We
say,
got
we should
invited
mention-
to go and get a little, it's not a 3-hour tour, 2.5-hour tour. We got to fish.
get stranded on it.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to, little
Caught
buddy.
some fish?
It's my little buddy. Sorry.
Our little buddy was Adam, that guy who's.
Yes. So we got
That's
to
awesome.
fish, we caught some fish.
Nice
And
photos.
a very good discussion from James Ellers,
Yeah.
who
Hosted us.
who hosted
Nice.
and talked a lot about water quality, the lake, some history, and some of the challenges that the lake's facing. And,
And
So it
what
was
people
very
in
good.
our role specifically can
Can be
do
doing.
to affect a change on
yeah.
that.
Sounds good.
Anything else for Select Board Forum? Okay. The next item is.
Oh, I do.
Go ahead. Yes.
I attended a meeting yesterday, you may have heard it on the news, that a study was recently done regarding the amount of state dollars that are spent on conservation, land conservation. And this is a report that was sponsored and funded through the Trust for Public Land, the Vermont Land Trust, VNRC, and a couple other, Audubon. Anyway, for every dollar that's invested from the state, and the state money comes mostly through the property transfer tax, there's a $9 return. So I have a little booklet, and I meant to bring it today, but I will email the report to Joy. So, there's often the question of what it
costs
is,
us
because
money,
it's
yeah.
not, much of this land is private land, so it's still paying property taxes,
Saw
and
that, it's listed like that.
it's good.
And that was 1,300. Okay. Good.
Yeah, the report says $9
Yeah.
per one
Yeah.
nine, yeah, that's like.
Yeah, it'd be good to get a copy of it.
Yeah.
So you have it electronically or?
I'm hoping they're gonna post
Okay.
it, and I'll send the link. I have I have a paper summary, and then I have one copy of the hard copy.
And who put this on?
It was the Trust for Public Land, Audubon, Vermont Land Trust,
Nature conserve.
Nature Conservancy,
Okay.
and a VNRC. So they all funded it and got other grants.
Good.
Quite
All right.
shitty.
Anything else on Select Board Forum? All right, next item is to review the minutes from 8:16. They're about 3 pages in our packet
I'll make the motion to approve them
with any amendments.
with any amendments. Second.
All right, and that's seconded. I looked them over, I didn't really see anything. Maybe I wasn't in the mood. Did you find some?
I found a lot of things.
Okay.
I printed it out this time, that helps. So I wondered, the people attending, I wondered if Marie Gardner and Lynn Gardner, you want to add them?
Considering they were on the agenda.
Yeah,
Or she was.
yep,
says,
and I
yeah.
have photographic evidence that she was here.
No, that's true, you did.
Yeah. And then there are a lot of little typos or missed words. So Andrea said, the second line there, weather in the town budget, it's WHETHER, not weather. Teacher comes out here. And then a few more lines down. She is not convinced the SRO needs to be a Hinesburg officer and feels this could be an opportunity for the 3 THREE. And then a few more lines. She strongly believes we need support in the schools for the mental and social well-being of the students, but need to put is not convinced a police officer, etc. And then a few paragraphs down, second paragraph from the bottom. Phil asked Adam if approved by the school board how fast they plan to have an officer in place. Adam said it would depend on the hiring process. Okay. Oh, and I wanted to commend that there's an action item there. I like that. We had talked about doing that.
Yeah, which one?
On page 2, 2/3 of the way down. That's just a commendation. It's not a not anything to change.
Which one is it?
Action item for board members.
Oh,
Phil
yeah.
asked board members to forward their questions.
Yes.
To.
Okay.
So,
Oh, yeah, okay, good, yeah.
Box it.
All right, good, yeah.
So, you know, and
That's excellent.
it's easier to find it.
Yeah, thank you. So then on page 3, consider repayment contract from Frost Beer Works. The last sentence, Andrea suggested including the number of GPD allocated. It was agreed to include reference back to the application.
And attach it to the agreement.
Yeah,
Yes.
add and. Okay, town administrator report. Third or fourth sentence, CSWD is looking to have a public forum. Andrea suggested jointly host the public forum as soon as can be arranged. The site, it's SITE for CS.
Oh, yeah, the site, yeah.
Good Lord.
And then another action item. Phil proposed he, Andrea, Renee, Joy, and town representative to CSWD continue to work on a draft letter. I
That
don't
would
know.
be what we talked about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out why maybe I got tired at this point and didn't understand what that meant. It seems fine at this point. I don't see any
Well,
issue.
I have out to Sarah Reeves of CSWD to set a date for the public forum final inspection for the highway garage. So maybe because there's no period there
Oh, maybe that's
after the
what
word
it was.
forum.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
okay, and then at the bottom,
I mean, you brought it up. I just
Yeah.
finished your thought.
that's probably what it
That's
was.
probably what it is.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. So a resident on Mechanicsville Road contacted, needs an ED after contact.
Yeah.
The town regarding a situation with A, needs an A added, a street light giving off too much light. Renee had Chief Koss, who spoke, just have speak. Renee had Chief Koss speak with her and a neighbor. Okay, that's it there. And then on the top of page 4, department head meetings have been going well, Ed been. And select board forum. Tom noted that he does not, Ed not, have the time to dedicate.
Nice catch, Marilyn.
Because otherwise, conceptually, that's odd.
I was trying to keep you there, Tom.
Oh, you wouldn't have.
So the next sentence, Tom expressed his disappointment in the damage to the Bissonnette fields. Multipurpose field number 2 is ready for seed. And then I think it needs a new sentence because it's a new idea. Work on the Little League field, basic prep is done, and it should be ready for seed in a few weeks.
Maybe
So,
basic prep actually goes first. Basic prep work on the Little League field is done and should be ready for seed in a few weeks. Maybe
yeah, if you want to go that far, that's fine with me.
it's like arranging.
Yeah, that would be even better.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last sentence in that, Phil said he toured the water treatment plant, period. There is one pump that has no backup, and add it would be good to ask, especially with budget season coming up, if there is a need to plan for add a replacement pump.
Should we go to ask Erik? Or
Yeah.
who are we asking?
That's a good point, yeah. And I think that's probably.
Well, I mean,
Or good to-
I'm bringing up to Renee, I think,
Oh,
or
okay.
Joy, and saying,
We already did,
our
the
budget
answer to your
time.
question. If you'd
Yeah.
like to know, it can be ordered and it would be here very quickly. Because we noticed that question was in here.
Right,
Okay.
but,
Forget the grammar part. I'm not answering to that. I'm only answering to the
right.
actual
So,
question that
right, but I would
exists.
say, so he doesn't think we need a spare because we can get it very quickly, like, this shuts down the water system, so it's quickly an hour or 2
No,
hours? or-
I guess it does
Yeah.
not shut down the water system, is what,
Oh,
was what he said. I will
Okay.
verify that, but
Okay.
I don't believe it does.
okay, and if it doesn't, that's fine.
Okay.
Then I would Hopefully not. They planned it out pretty well, I would
Yeah,
think.
I will verify that, but did have that conversation.
All right, so,
All in favor of those changes?
yeah, all in favor of the motion with the changes as noted, say aye.
Aye.
Andrea?
Hi.
Aye, and aye. That motion passed. Next item is consider approving the warrants.
So moved. Second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And that is it.
Wow.
Everybody's happy?
Yes.
We need one last motion.
To adjourn?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.